Hey there, everyone. Hey there, Replay viewers. Happy Sunday. Hope all is well with you guys. And hello, Catch viewers as well. Catch viewers, if you'd like to watch live and participate, download the Periscope app and search for Penguin and Fish. I'm here every night at 9:30 p.m. Central. Thanks so much. We are going to paper piece today, guys. I'm excited. I'm relatively a beginner at paper piecing, but I've totally fallen in love with it, and I'm excited to do it again tonight with our new blocks. I'm so excited for block 15. I'm gonna flip you guys around and we'll start chatting. Hello, thanks guys for coming in. Hey there! Happy Sunday, everyone. Super happy you're here. We are starting block 15 of the Splendid Sampler. It is by Janice called Family Affair, and it is paper piecing. It's our first paper pieced block of the Splendid Sampler. Hi everyone, thanks for coming in. You may be a little intimidated by paper piecing, but it actually is so fun and relaxing once you get going. I really do love it. If you can check out my catch, I've done a few projects that are paper pieced. We actually paper pieced, what block is it? The block with the quilt, the quilt shop one. And it's fun and relaxing, and once you get going, it's actually super duper easy. I'm excited to get going today. We got all the templates here. I've cut them out, and so we're all ready to go. If you're new here, my name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we create lovely and quirky hand embroidery patterns and kits. I'm a fabric designer and the author of Sew and Stitch Embroidery. And my block was block 11 of the Splendid Sampler, so I'm so happy to be part of this Splendid Sampler family that we all have here. If you don't know what the Splendid Sampler is, it's a year-long mystery block quilt-along. There's 100 blocks in all, and we are on block 15 today. They get released every Thursday and Sunday, and it's Sunday, so it's new block day. I'm so excited. All right, guys, I'm gonna flip you around and we'll get cracking. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know if you finished this block already. I'd love to hear how it went for you, and let's get going. All right, flipping you around. All right, there we go. So I have my fabrics picked, and oh, you love my t-shirt with all the little kitties. Thanks, Marla. Okay, so here are our two templates, and we got 4 of each of these. So template A and template B, and in the end, I'm just kind of holding it up like this because I want to show you what I'm thinking for colors. So this kind of triangle represents this bit right here. So what I'm thinking for colors is I wanted to do like lights going to darks once we get to this point. So light, darker, darker, and then this sliver here, the darkest, and then the cross will do a different thing. So that's kind of how I have my fabrics laid out. So this will be my light, and then darker, darker, darkest. And then this will be the little cross in the middle, I think. So I just wanted to start there to show you what we got going. So it does look tricky, but it's actually really fun once you get going. So these are the paper pieces. They each have 4 segments to it, and then we sew 2 finished paper pieces to a strip. So then we get this, and then 4 of those segments are put together in the end. So we got 8 paper pieced deals here. So here's one of the paper pieces. So they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the order that we're gonna sew them in. So we'll sew this one first, then we'll sew 1 to 2, or we'll sew 2 to 1, and then 3 to this group, and then 4 to the group of all of them. You printed her tutorial, big help. Yes, so you guys should go check out Janice Ryan's website. You can go to there from the Splendid Sampler. She has a great tutorial on this as well, with great photos and everything like that. So you can look at that. Oh, it didn't help you at all? Okay, well, sometimes it helps seeing someone do it in person, so hopefully this will be a little helpful. And this will all be saved at Catch, which is katch.me/penguinandfish. So this is the order that we sew them in. However, in this case, it also represents the colors of fabric because we're consistent all the way throughout. So I gotta look at it this way. So this is gonna be our white. I'm just putting a W there. And then this is gonna be our light blue. This is gonna be, 3 is gonna be our medium blue. And 4 is gonna be our dark blue. The size of this, I think it's probably about 3.5 inches or so. Yeah, it's about 3.5 inches. It's very small. The entire block is gonna be 6.5 when you're done. Oh yeah, Janelle, yours is coming together. That's awesome. All right, so let's get going. We're gonna start doing all the paper pieces. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paper piece this entire block, or this entire segment, and then I'll move on to the other segments. But when I move on to the other segments, like here's all the rest of them, there's a whole pile of them, right? I'll probably do all the 1s and then all the 2s of all of these all at once, then all the 3s and all the 4s all at once. But I thought we'd do one full one just so you can get the whole idea of it first. But then after that, we'll do like our whole manufacturing plant type thing where we do it in a row. For this, I need to use freezer paper. Nope. All I'm gonna use, so this is just normal printer paper. It's the same paper that I printed my pattern out, and that works great. So just normal printer paper. I don't think you want to use freezer paper. You want to use something that will tear pretty easily. So, all right, we are gonna start this block here. So we're gonna start with this one. And paper piecing is great for scraps too. So because we don't really need to measure so much, and that's what I love about it. All right, so 1 is our light blue. Oh, here, I'm gonna move up so the comments don't cover us here. Okay, number 1 is my light blue, which is this guy here. So I am gonna just cut with my scissors. I'm not even gonna use a rotary cutter. I'm gonna just cut a piece of fabric that is the size of this number 1 plus a good seam allowance on it. And it's okay to have a lot extra, and it doesn't need to be a perfect shape because I'm gonna show you why in a sec here. So I'm gonna just really cut like a blob here. So there we go. No measuring, no nothing. Just cutting a blob. Use freezer paper. Do not tear paper piecing. Oh, so it doesn't tear as easily with the freezer paper? Okay, so this is really difficult to see what's the right and wrong side, but this is the right side. The right side you want facing out. So I am going to just plop my piece of paper on there with the right side out. So this is the right side. This is the wrong side. This will be flipped when we're done, you know, so that it'll actually be, this will be the final shape. So this is the right side again. Yeah, definitely cut, I mean, especially if you're beginning, I would cut large pieces just because then you'll be sure to get your seam allowance right. Some like use newsprint. I'm just perfectly fine with this regular paper. I think it works just fine. Okay, so I got a piece that's covering my number 1 plus a good seam allowance around it. I mean, a real good seam allowance. I'm going to use all my scraps for the rest of this Splendid Sampler, so I'm not too worried. It's better to err on the side of a little bit bigger than not having enough. All right, so I'm going to pin. I'm only going to use a pin once, and that's just for this first square. So I'm going to put a pin parallel to the line that goes in between 1 and 2. And it's just so it's kind of out of my way. I just want this to be attached just for the time being. All right, so now something I love to have when paper piecing is a postcard for a straight edge. And a postcard works freaking perfectly. Oh yeah, so glue would work really well here too. Just put a dab there. I just like putting a pin just really quickly. So what we're gonna do is we want to fold This is just to get a really nice seam allowance, and you'll get it in a sec here. So we want to fold a perfect line between our first and our second section here. Oh, you saved your postcard just for this. Oh, that's awesome. So I'm gonna put, so right here is 1 and 2. Here's the line that goes in between it. I'm gonna align my postcard right with it. And then I'm gonna fold my paper back the entire length of the paper. And we're gonna just kind of crease it there, right? All right. So now we're gonna leave it there like that. Here, I'm gonna move my pin hair out of there. So this is how we're gonna focus on the seam allowance at this point. So get a little ruler and line up the 1/4 inch with the fold. So I'm all lined up here. And now I'm gonna just trim everything beyond that off. So that's a scrap. Don't need that anymore. So now we'll have a good seam allowance here. I'm falling asleep, have fun. Oh, I'll see you later. Yeah, Irene's in Greece. All right. Oh, you have this in your Amazon cart. Okay, so there we have our little seam allowance there. So now we can put this back. So that's basically number 1. Number 1, we can't sew number 1 to itself. So number 1 is basically done at this point. So now we're going to number 2. So now we need a piece of fabric that is going to be big enough for number 2, plus the entire seam allowance around number 2, which is all of this, and number 2 would go down to here. So we need a piece at least as big as number 2. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect or beautiful. Number 2 is my white. Here we go, let's unfold this. Okay, so it's got to be as big as number 2. So I'm going to just kind of trim again, just a big chunk here. And again, I'm probably trimming a lot more than I need to, but again, I'm going to use these scraps later in all my blocks, so I'm not too worried with having extra. And also with these triangles, sometimes the angles can be tricky. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take, we ultimately want to line up a straight edge with that nice seam allowance that we just cut, that nice straight line. So we're going to test it. So we put right sides together, flip it around, and we're going to put a pin. I'm going to use this pin. We're going to put a pin right on that line. This is where we would sew. And then I'm going to fold this back along that line. And what I'm doing is I want to make sure it's covering number 2 plus the seam allowance. So you can see I'm barely over here. So I'm going to want to change my angle so it goes like this a little bit more. At a 1/4 ruler really helps with this. I'll have to, what do you mean a 1/4 ruler? Oh, one of those really skinny rulers. So I'm actually going to, oops. I just lost my seam allowance there, guys. I should have used a different pin. There we go. I'm just going to pin that back there. All right, so let's just test this again. I think I just needed to move it over a hair. So lining it there again. Get a different pin. Again, pinning it right on where I'm going to sew. There. So this time I have plenty of space around here, and clearly we have a lot of excess there again, but that's okay. So now we are ready to sew our first 2 pieces together. So I'm going to move over to the edge. Could I slide up a bit? Oh, can't see because all the comments. Yeah, I will do that for sure. So here we go. Again, just to reiterate what I just did, I put a pin right in the line where I'm gonna sew, which is the line between 1 and 2. And the reason I did that is because I just wanna check, I have right sides together here. So this is basically as if I would have sewn it along that pin. I wanna fold it back and pretend that it's sewn, because I wanna make sure that I still have all of number 2 covered plus enough seam allowance around it. And this time I do, so we're in a good place. So now I know that we're fine to start sewing. So I'm gonna just put that back and scoot over to the machine. Here we are. So with the machine, you wanna make sure that your stitch length is a little less, so you have tinier stitches, because in the end, it'll be easier to tear the paper off, which we'll do when we're finished. So I'm going to make my stitch length a hair smaller. Okay, so now I'm gonna remove my pin. Actually, I'm gonna remove both pins. I think this is, my angle got a little funny. All right, so we are gonna sew the seam allowance. Oh, here, you guys probably can't see very well. Here, let me turn, oh, there we go. Now you can see a little bit better. So we are gonna sew the line in between 1 and 2, and we'll sew into the seam allowance as well, but we are not gonna go past that line here. Like when it goes into the 3 right here, we don't wanna pass that. So we're gonna stop right here, and I'm going to stay stitch the beginning and the end to just do a little reverse back tack, just to hold it in place. Still can't see because the light's too bright. Okay, here, there we go. So we're gonna sew from here through the seam allowance exactly along this line, but we are gonna stop before it cuts into our another block here. So this is piece 3. We don't wanna go past that line. So I'm gonna stay stitch it a little here, or just back tack, and I'm also gonna back tack right here. And I just do that because I don't want, I think it'll fall apart a little if you don't do a little back tack here. So we're gonna start here and stop here and exactly go on this line. So this is the nice thing, you don't have to worry about your scant 1/4 inch anymore. You don't have to worry about cutting perfect pieces. You can just cut blobs, and then all you're doing is stitching exactly on this line. So I'm gonna do that right now. We'll turn that back on. Yeah, the pieces are super duper tiny. I'm gonna use a little stiletto here. All right, so I'm gonna just back tack this a little. Oh, your great nephew liked this block, that's cool. All right, a little paper wants to get stuck there, but all right, so now I'm gonna go exactly on this line. Yeah, it's pretty bright, isn't it? Here, let's see if I can adjust it a little. There we go, does that help a little? There we go. So I'm going to sew right along the line. And again, I'm going to stop right on that next line, and I'm just going to back tack it there. All right, so that is done. Ooh, let me grab a little scissors. Get a little scissors out here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we're gonna trim the little pieces of thread bits off as we go. So I'm gonna grab this little one on top, the one on the bottom, and the 2 on the sides. Oh, we got a little bunched up there. Oh, I had the other fabric there, so I don't have a piece there. Okay, so that was our first bit. So now you can see up close, I've sewn through the seam allowance and then stopped right on the edge there, right? So that is our stitching 1 to 2. And now when we iron it, we'll press it open, and there is our 1 and 2. It's gonna look crazy until we trim it, but it's gonna all work out. So we're gonna press that, and then we'll move on to 3, where we sew in between. We sew that line in between this section that we already did, and then 3. So we'll go from here through the seam allowance to there. But first, let's press it. All right, so I'm gonna get you guys over here again. And we'll do another one, and it'll get easier and easier as you go. So I'm gonna just press the little seam here quick. And then we'll press it open. I'm gonna just start it with the tip. There we go. And I'm not using steam paper. Who thought this up? I know, right? You know, it's kind of amazing though with paper piecing because you can get such intricate designs and it is crazy town and I kind of just love it. So here we go. We got our first seam here. We have pieces 1 and 2. So all right guys, let's move on to piece 3. I'll get you guys down here and I'll work a little higher so you guys, if you're commenting, then you'll be able to see. So now I don't use pins anymore. So, all right, the next thing, again, we're going on to 3. So first of all, 3 is the medium blue, which is this piece right here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is grab my note card again, and I'm gonna go on that line that's in between 3 and the rest of the piece that we're gonna sew the 3 onto. Is it saying is English paper piecing? No, English paper piecing is the hand piecing where you're wrapping fabric around paper and it's by hand. Yeah, Hexties is a good example. That's all hand done. This is called foundation paper piecing if you wanted to search for it. Foundation paper piecing because you're using the paper as a foundation. All right, so I'm folding that entire length right along there. Have you seen where they piece from the top side? No, I don't know what that is. Oh, thanks, Andrew. All right, so again, you see I folded right along that line. So now we're gonna get our ruler out again, and we're gonna line the 1/4 inch with our fold. And this will give us the perfect seam allowances throughout our piece. So here we go. Trim all that off. Don't need any of that anymore. That blob is scraps. All right, and we are ready to cut piece 3. So again, we need a piece that will be big enough to cover all of piece 3 plus a seam allowance, you know, so big enough for a seam allowance around piece 3. So I'm gonna just grab, all right, look, we got a good chunk right here. Let's just cut this piece off. It was just like you're doing, but the piece is drawn on the side YouTube video. Oh, I'll have to look at that where we can do the paper piecing from the top. That'd be pretty interesting. So there we go. Trimming a little piece off there. I don't really have a good straight edge on here. I'm gonna just trim that so I got a better little edge. So I'm gonna align this straight edge that I just trimmed, oops, with the straight edge that I just cut for the seam allowance. So I'm gonna just plop that right there. And this one doesn't have any rights and wrong sides either, but you know, you'd put right sides together. All right, so I'm gonna just hold that in place with my fingers, and we're gonna do another test. So this is gonna test to see if our fabric, once we flip it, is gonna cover our entire 3. So I'm gonna put a pin right along that line that we would sew on, that number 3, the number 3 and everything we did before line. So there we go. So now we can flip this over and pretend we sewed, and we'd get that. So now here's a little bit of a problem here. I don't have enough fabric down here to cover the seam allowance. So I should have at least enough fabric going out to here. So we're gonna have to adjust. So I'm gonna unpin it, and we're gonna just move it down a hair and see if that does the job. And I'm gonna try for the time being to stay along the same edge there. All right. And again, pin along that line. This one's a little tricky because it's got all these triangle angles in it. All right, we're still a little off. You know what? I think I moved it the wrong direction. I think we need to move it even down a little further. There we go. Oh, sorry guys, I'm kind of missing what you're saying. Totally concentrating on my little number 3 block here. All right, so flip that this way. All right, there we go. Now we have it covered. See, so we adjusted it enough. This is where it can get tricky, so make sure you do test with the pin. So now you can see I do have enough for my seam allowance all around the 3, which means we are ready to stitch. So I am going to just leave that pin in there for now. So we are going to stitch from the seam through the seam allowance again and along this line, but again we're going to stop right here before we get to number 4 here. Swipe right and click on hide chat. Oh, here, I can go up higher there. So there you go, we're gonna start, let's get way zoomed in here. We're gonna basically start here and end here, but I'm gonna actually sew through the seam allowance too. So I'm gonna extend this line to the seam allowance, sew through the seam allowance exactly along that line, and stop before I get to this piece 4, right on the end, just kind of how we did here. Let's get way close here. So this was our first one, we stopped right there. This one we're gonna stop right here. Oh, thanks, Andrew. All right, here we go. Let's go back to the machine. Oh, some tiny paper piecing. Yeah, it really is, Gina. It's so super tiny. All right, so I'm gonna grab my threads, get them out of the way here. So I'm not using my leader, which is that little piece of fabric, to start and stop on here because I want to do these stay stitches, so I don't really need it. I'm going to take this pin out now. I don't need that anymore. All right, so I'm going to sew again through the seam allowance and stop right there. Oh, thanks guys. This paper piecing is definitely is a little tricky, but I'm telling you, once you get going, it is so easy and relaxing, and you'll really love it. So again, I'm going right along the line. And we'll be doing this for a couple nights yet too. So if you didn't quite get it this first time, we got 8 of these things that we're making, 8 of these little segments like this. All right, so I back tacked it right at the end there. I'll turn this off so you can see. Just trimming that. All right, so we sewed between 3 and then the 1 and 2 bits that we did before. So we sewed through the seam allowance and then we stopped right there. And now we're gonna trim these little threads off right away. Just keeping it clean as we go. And then get these other ones off as well that were on the end. All right, so we trimmed. So now we're going to press that open. And there will be our next piece. So now you can start to see we're starting to get our little pieces together here. Yeah, so we got, this little triangle's good to go. And then all we have to do is number 4 yet, this nice long one here. It's really fun once you get going, Cora, for sure. All right, I'm gonna just tilt you guys up so we can press. Pressing is like super duper important through this whole process, like it is with any quilting. All right, so I'm just gonna press the seam a little bit there. Whoa, what's that all about? Oh, we got kind of stuck on there. All right. Oh, you know what? I think my iron just got a little dirty there. Here, let me just run it over a rag here. All right. So let's press this open along the seam. Again, I'm just gonna I'm just using the tip of it just to get it started. I think that kind of helps. And then here we go. Pressing it open. All right. And I think there we are. So there is, what about starching? I didn't starch this time around. I suppose I could have. I don't think it would hurt at all. Definitely do it before so it doesn't get all over your paper and everything. I didn't bother this time. You don't really need it all that much because you're sewing it directly onto the paper, so the paper is kind of your starch almost, that kind of thing. But you know, it might be helpful. All right, so here is, we kind of made a mess. I think my my iron might have had some starch on it still, and I think it kind of messed up my paper a little bit. You know what? We can give it a try tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll starch some of the stuff and see if it makes a difference. All right, so number 4 is my dark blue. All right, let's grab the dark blue here. You know, I think I might have a dark blue scrap. So I've been saving all my scraps in here for the whole thing. These are all my little bits from the sewing machine. These are all my Splendid Sampler scraps. So this looks plenty big. Let's try and use this. Yeah, let's do that. I like when I can use scraps in this. All right, I think this should be big enough. Yeah, so again, it needs to be big enough to cover the entire bit of 4, and 4 is quite large here, and the seam allowance is on all sides of it. So I think we might just be good with, you know what? I think I might not even cut this piece. Well, because we're going to be cutting it off soon anyway. But before we cut that, we got to do our postcard again. So now we're doing the line that's in between 4 and everything else we've done previously. All right, so here we go. That's a really long, skinny piece there. All right, hold that down, and we're just gonna flip it all up along that edge, our little straight edge. And again, this is so we get our nice seam allowance. It's sometimes easy just to do it beforehand like that. So there we go, got our fold. Let's get our ruler out. So again, we're gonna line the 1/4 inch on that fold. Yeah, and a quarter inch ruler would totally work well here. All right, so we're gonna snip all this off. So we got, you know, we'll use this scrap. An index card would work great. I'm just using a postcard, just something thick. An index card would be good. Just that's not gonna move around. Like a normal piece of paper wouldn't work well for this. It's just, you want that little hard edge, but thin still, like what a postcard or an index card. Even a business card, but a business card would just be too small, I think. All right, so 1/4 inch. We're gonna trim all that off. I mean, this might be big enough for another piece later. Cardstock would work great. Yeah, just any sort of stiff, smallish piece of paper. All right, so we'll fold this back. We got our perfect seam allowance there again, which is kind of magic. All right, so now I'm gonna just take this whole piece here. We'll put, I got my straight edge here. I'll put the right sides together. Now I know I have this piece down here, so I'm going to already extend this a little down. We lined up those straight edges, and I'm going to put some pins in this again because I want to test that our fabric's big enough. And we were doing right sides together again. So let's put a pin where we would sew along that number 4 line. About there, and I'll do 2 because this line is pretty long. All right, and this is, again, just to test if our piece is properly placed. This is a block that just came out today. Yep, Andrew, this is Sunday's block. All right, so we're gonna fold. We're gonna pretend that we sewed this and fold along that sewing line. So that's what it's gonna look like. That's pretty cute. Look at this little sliver. Let's see. All right, great. All our seam allowances are definitely big enough, so we are perfectly fine with this number 4 placement. So we're gonna go. So we can sew. So again, we are going to sew we're going to sew, let's see if I can stop moving. There we go. We're gonna sew along this edge that's the 4, between 4 and everything else that we've done already. So it goes here and it cuts across the whole thing. And this time we are gonna go into the seam allowance as well. So I'm gonna go across this entire way, follow the 4, and then go off here. All right. Oh, hey, LaShonda, thanks for coming in. I'm glad you were able to make it. All right, and you guys, if this is all way confusing still, feel free to ask your questions. And again, we'll be doing 8 of these, and maybe we'll keep doing them one by one like this. Maybe this is helpful to do it individually. I think it might be actually helpful for me to do it individually to keep track of things. All right, so I'm gonna remove my pins. You did them one by one, Ashley? Okay, I think I might too, just because I kind of need to go through the process so my brain works. And I think if I just do each piece separately, I think I'm scared my brain will stop working. Oh, you did all the A sides and all the B sides. Okay, so you know what? Maybe I will not do the assembly line, or at least once we get more comfortable, maybe I'll do 4 individually like this, and then maybe I'll do the other 4 assembly line, and we can just see. How about that? We'll get both of them then. We'll get the repetition of doing them assembly line and get doing them individually. We'll just see, right? We'll just see what it's like. So I'm gonna go along the 4. I think we'll get, oh yeah, it's a huge effort for one block, that's for sure. But you know what? It's fun, and this whole quilt along is about learning and playing and trying new things. So I think it's worth it. So I just stitched along that line again, back tacked it. All right, we'll take that out. And again, I am going to, let's tilt you guys down a hair. Happy to learn a new skill. Yeah, exactly. That's the fun part about it. I said 1 up for each step. Oh, then use it as a model for the others. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah. I just, usually I work really well in the assembly line, but we'll do maybe 1 or 2 more individually like this, and then I think we'll attempt the assembly line way of doing it. We'll see how it goes. I don't think I've tried assembly line with paper piecing before, so that might be a good thing for me to try. You know, I'm trying to learn things as I do the Splendid Sampler blocks, so that might be a good thing to do. Assembly line, paper piecing. So I'm gonna press it, but let's just check it again. So here we go, that's our sewn piece. That looks pretty good. Got all our little chunks going there. All right, let's press. And we'll trim this right away, so it'll, you can see what it looks like. It'll come together a little bit better then. You know, I think I totally got gook all over my iron. I'll have to, yeah, I think I got like ink on my iron. That's not cool. All right, I think we're fine now. So I'm gonna finger press it first this time. There we go. And now I'll hit it with the iron. I hate a gooky iron. Yeah, no kidding. I think it was from the ink toner on my printout, which isn't good because I'm going to be using those printouts a lot longer. So I don't know. We'll see. Just got to try and keep it clean. All right. So here we go. Nice and flat. So this is technically done right now. Let's trim the edge. So when we trim, you want to trim, so you don't want to trim right, along your edge here. You don't want to trust that. You want to trust this line. So I'm going to use this as my guide and do 1/4 inch from there. So I'm going to put my 1/4 inch right on that line there. Okay, so here we are. And now I'm going to trim all the way across. I always have to be quiet during my cutting. I'm always have to concentrate. Okay, so again, we're gonna use this as our guide. We'll put the 1/4 of an inch right on there. Okay, that's looking all right. Turn it on. All the way across. So we'll definitely be able to use this piece later, I'm thinking. Probably won't use this tiny piece. All right, and then one more. Again, using this line, not the outer edge. So putting that on the quarter inch marking. All right. Okay, and there we have piece 1. Oh, see, look how cute. All cut out. So there we go. That is piece 1. And now we just need to make basically 8 more of those. So let's check out some of these other pieces. So which one was this? Okay, this was template A. So then here's a template B. So I think ultimately I just want to kind of see what this is going to look like. Okay, the white is on the outside. Okay, so like this. There we go. No, not like that. Wait a sec. Confusing myself. Okay, that's... trying to get this to match up there like that. And then template B would be... oh, that doesn't make sense. It must be another template. There, like that. There, that makes sense. Oh, I know why. Because it's actually flipped. I'm looking at the reverse here. But in theory, this is what it will end up looking like. So this will be the dark. This will be that medium sliver, then the blue, and then the white. So we'll have these kind of like fun little arrows pointing towards the middle, and then I'm gonna have this green as that little cross. So let's just kind of roll it up. The little cross that goes through them. All right, so that is the plan, people. I think that'll be fun. So how are we doing? Should we, why don't we start another one? I don't think we'll get it done, but why don't we start again? So I'm gonna do, I did template A before, so I'm gonna do template B next. Because when this is reversed, it'll be the matching piece to this. And then we can kind of see what it looks like. So again, we're gonna start with number 1, which is our light blue. And I'm gonna, again, just cut a little chunk that I know will be big enough for that. And I like, again, I don't need to cut these or with a ruler or anything. That's kind of what I love about paper piecing. I can just have my huge scraps. How would the assembly line work? So the assembly line, oh, this one's hard to tell right and wrong. Okay, this is the right side. Right side out. The assembly line, I would probably take all of these, cut all of these chunks, pin them all to number 1, and have them all out, and then I'd probably do the whole fold along the line, do that for all of them, then I'd sew number 2 to all of them. That would be the assembly line way of doing it, I would think, but we're gonna try, we'll maybe do 1 or 2 more where we do it this way. So again, I'm gonna just quickly put a pin in here. It's kind of easier for the first square. So again, I put the right side out, the wrong side against the paper here. This template will be flipped when we're done, so it'll actually be this shape. It won't be this shape. This is the wrong side of it. Okay, get our postcard. We're gonna fold along the line that's in between 1 and 2. So along this line here. All right, there we go. And now we're gonna cut our seam allowance. I think I'd forget to trim the seam allowance. That's perfectly fine. You can actually trim the seam allowance when you're all finished. I think this is just an easy way of doing it. Then you have these nice seam allowances the entire time, and you don't have to worry about it after. So, all right, I'm aligning the quarter of an inch markers along that fold. It's a little difficult because I got my pin there, so I'm kind of at a funny angle here. But I think we'll be okay. There, trim that scrap off. Okay. So it's always this number 1 to 2 that I think is kind of the most difficult, but once you get past that, it's okay. So number 2 is this white piece. So let's grab that fabric again. All right, again, we want a chunk that will go all the way around this number 2 plus a seam allowance worth. Oh, you need, yeah, the assembly line, you wouldn't have the instant gratification of getting like a couple of these done. That's true. All right, so I'm going to just cut out a big chunk of this again. In theory, it'd be good to cut more of a triangular piece, and maybe we can try that, but the triangle has to be opposite of this, so that's the part that always trips me up. We'll try it. I'm just gonna cut with the rotary cutter here quick. I'm gonna just cut like a big old triangle. We're gonna give that a try. So I'm gonna just press this really quick because there's a little crease in there. So I know this piece is clearly way bigger, but I just wanted to give it a try. Because triangles can be tricky. So let's just try putting this straight edge along there. So this is the straight edge that we just stitched. We'll put another straight edge along there. And let's do our little pin and test. Right side, we did right sides together there. Okay, put a little pin. I'm putting a pin right along the sewing line, which is the line between 1 and 2. I know the watercolor look on this isn't like awesome. I'm so in love with this fabric. So that actually worked really well. You know, again, I cut like way too much, but that's okay. I'm gonna use this scrap later. So we're fine. So I'm gonna start sewing here, guys. Again, we're going to stitch. I'm going to remove this pin now because I don't need that anymore. That's just to show, that was just to test that fold. So I'm going to sew, I'm actually going to start, we're going to go this way. I'm going to sew through the seam allowance, but then I'm only going to sew, I'm going to sew exactly along this line, but I'm going to stop before I get into another piece here. So I'm going to stop right there. So let's do that. Scooch over here. Okay, gets a little bright there, but I'll try and turn it off right away. So I'm just holding this all in place. You can pin so your fabrics don't move around, but you know, if you're going straight from the paper piecing to your machine quick, it probably doesn't matter all that much. All right. Again, I'm gonna just do a little back tack just to be safe. And then exactly along that line. A lot of people are using scraps for their Splendid Sampler, and I think those are turning out just really lovely as well. So you don't have to worry too much about the fabric, I don't think. All right, so I did a little backpack. Just again, something to remember is that my stitch length is less than my normal stitch length. Let's pull this out. And again, so here you can probably see my stitch length. Oh, you can probably maybe see on this side better. So my stitch length is pretty small, and the reason that is because with each stitch you're perforating the paper, and the smaller the stitches are, the easier it's gonna tear this later when we want to take the paper off, because it'll be more perforated. It'll be way easier. So that's why we're shortening the stitch length. All right, so I'm gonna trim. I want to trim off. Oh, we don't need my little pin anymore. We're going to trim the little pieces off right away. I got some little scrappy bits through here. All right, so let's press that open. I'm gonna try and move a hair faster here, but you guys feel free to ask questions still. I'd like to try and get this segment done, this whole thing here before the end of the evening, and it's pretty. We're getting kind of late here already, so I wanna you know, just. Oh wow, that ink is just getting all over that again. I'm getting a gunky. Like, look at that, I'm getting some toner from there, so I think it actually might be from my starch, because I think I have a lot of maybe starch on the bottom of my iron, and I think that might be happening from the starch. So that's not good, because I have a light color fabric. Oh, and if you guys want to watch again, I'm gonna, all these are recorded at katch.me/penguinandfish. So feel free to watch again, or like when you're gonna try and do the block for yourself and stuff, and if you just need to look at it as you go, it is all there. All right, we're gonna scooch through. So let's do number 3. It's this medium again. Oh, here's a good chunk of fabric here. We'll just snip this off. Again, this we could probably do a little triangle, but I think we'll be fine. All right, so first we got to do the postcard. Yep, let me get you guys down again. So postcard in between the number 3 and then the 1 and 2 bits that we did together. Yeah, it takes a little while, Kathy, to get it, but I mean, once you start doing it yourself and you just get used to the steps, like, okay, now is the postcard, now I cut the seam allowance, now I cut the piece of fabric big enough. Once you get in that sequence of doing things, it really gets smooth and really fun and enjoyable. The part I really like is that I don't have to worry about my scant 1/4 inch anymore. I can just stitch along the line, and I don't have to worry about cutting perfect pieces because I can cut giant blobs and it's okay. I find that really kind of fun. All right, number 3. Let's put this straight edge along there. So we matched the straight edges with that seam allowance that we just cut. Let's again do our test. So let's put a pin along our stitch line. When you get the rhythm, it's fast. Yeah, it really, really is so surprisingly relaxing too. I just kind of, the more I do it, the more I love it. And it's kind of one of those magic things that it looks so difficult, but then it ends up not being so difficult and ends up being actually relaxing. So it's like a little superpower, I think. All right, so that looked good. We have a good enough seam allowance around the 3. So, all right, let's sew that. I want to get this guy done before we head out tonight. All right, back over to the machine. Tilt you guys up a little bit. Oh, Andrew, I missed your sunset scope. I need to see it, though. It was so gorgeous outside here today. You guys, I went outside. We were going to go for a walk, and I put my coat on, and I put my my scarf on and everything today, and I went outside and it was 70 degrees out. I'm like, what? Because yesterday it was about 30 degrees. So it's seriously like got 40 degrees warmer overnight. It was crazy town out. Above freezing, great. Yeah, I mean, it felt like summer. It was so freaking beautiful, but I seriously went out with like a big warm coat and a scarf because yesterday it looked beautiful, but it was super dang cold. Oh, you had snow and sleet in New York. Ugh, yeah. I saw some pictures, I think from Ohio and stuff too, that had snow and sleet. And it was cold, cold, cold and windy yesterday. I could not believe I walked outside and it was 70 degrees. The car thing said it was 70. So I'm just snipping again here. Oh, it was wonderful. You had freeze warnings last night. Oh man. Maybe our stuff will move over to yours soon. All right, let's press again. Give me a little back and forth in here. All right. And I'm going to finger press this again first just to kind of get it going. Because we've only stitched from here to here, so these ends kind of need a little bit of help. Alright. And we just have one more piece, then we're done. And so this one's going quite a bit faster. So it does get it going. You're from Eau Claire! Oh, funny. I'm originally from Fond du Lac in Wisconsin, so that's pretty close. We go through Eau Claire on the way home. Alright, our last one is this block here. I wonder, we had that scrap. I wonder if the scrap is big enough. Yeah, we totally drive through there all the time. Ooh, I think, so this scrap isn't going to be big enough because you see it doesn't get all the way to our seam allowances there, so I will grab a new piece. Move this up so you guys can see a little. Ooh, here's a good piece. Is that big enough? Yeah, I think that'll be great. I'm going to just trim this chunk right off, just with my scissors. Just a blob. I'm not cutting perfect strips or anything. See, it looks a little crazy. It does have a fold in it though, so I'm going to quick press that. Okay. Back to the... Oh, you gotta pull your paper pieces out. Oh, that's the best part. The best part is when you're done with the whole block and you can tear all these off. It's so satisfying. All right, now we're going between that 4 line and everything else. So I'll place my postcard along there. That's awesome. Congrats. It feels so good to get one of these blocks done. And especially this one with all the paper piecing. It's just kind of an extra fun challenge. And you get that payoff of being able to tear all the pieces out. I was at a treat this weekend with Kate Spain and Michelle Muska. Oh, that's cool. All's right in the world when I hear Alyssa's sound effects. That's so funny because I don't, until you guys mention that, I don't realize I'm doing it. Everything has sound effects. All right, I'm gonna get a little bigger of a, you know what, I'm not gonna get a bigger ruler. I'm gonna just jump that little bit there. All right, align the 1/4 inch on my fold. There we go, and, oh good, I got that. Scraps. Okay, let's get this last piece on here. Oh, it's looking so cute. Paper piecing is so fun, guys. It really is. So this has a straight edge. I'm going to line that straight edge along with the straight edge that we just cut. And again, I'm going to pin it to test the size of my piece. And I don't do that all the time when I paper piece, but this paper piecing, these squares have a lot of triangles in, and that can, especially late at night, can get my brain all messed up. So this works really well as long as you have one straight edge. What do you mean by a straight, like to cut it, cut the seam allowance, the straight edge, or like a ruler straight edge, or what do you, I'm not quite sure what you mean, Cora. All right, I'm gonna sew along that line now. Oh wait, no, I'm not. I'm gonna test it. That's what we're doing. All right, so we're flipping that as if it's sewn, but it's just pinned. And we're good on our seam allowances. That's all we're checking here. We want to make sure that we've covered block 4 plus all the seam allowances of block 4 or piece 4. So we're good to go. So I am going to scooch over to the machine again. And we are just about done here. Oh, straight edges in architectural school. Yeah, no kidding. Yes, straight edges, and we did that in design all the time too. All right, flip up. All right, I'm gonna remove my pins. And I'm gonna start at the seam allowance, so I sew within the seam allowance as well. Back tack, and again, sewing right along that line. I don't have to think about my scant 1/4 inch or anything. I am just sewing along the line. I mean, it really, paper piecing does take, for me at least, once I get going, it takes the thinking away. Like, because for me, the thinking is the cutting and making sure I'm measuring things right and making sure that I'm sewing right on my 1/4 of an inch and all that. And this kind of gets rid of that for me. All right. A lot of architecture students become designers. Oh, that's so funny. All right, I'm going to snip off our little pieces. Yeah, I can kind of see that too. Like, yeah, maybe there's too many rules here. Let's try doing the design without all the like codes that you have to have. All right. There we are. Let's press this. You know, I think where I'm running into problems is that I'm pressing the seam on this side, and that's getting my machine gunked up. But I have no reason to press on this side. I can just press on this side, so I don't know why I'm doing that. I'll stop doing that. How about that? All right, so I'm going to finger press this open a little bit just to help it out. I sound like an architecture school student. That's funny. All right. Get this nice and flat. Now we get to kind of, once we get these two pieces together, we'll kind of get to see, oh, it's the steam on the ink. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's my steam on the ink that's transferring the ink to my iron. But again, I have no reason to really have pressed on this side. I don't know why I'm doing that, so I'll only press on this side from now on. But steam, that makes total sense. That would be my problem there. Won't do that again. I won't be pressing on the side with the ink. I don't need to. So, all right, this is done. Let's cut it out again. All right, and here we go. Again, we're going to use this line as our guide. We're not going to just blatantly, or like with disregard, cut on this line because we don't know how good that is, and we want our 1/4 inches to be right. So I'm going to do my markings on that 1/4 inch, grab my rotary cutter, trim that off. And I'm going to use all these scraps that I'm saving, even these little bits. We'll do a fun little fabric out of that. So it's a little later than usual than I like to go on these things, guys. So thanks for hanging out with me still. I just thought we'd try and get this other block, or this other little segment done. Maybe tomorrow we'll try the assembly line way of doing it. That might be the challenge for tomorrow. Oh, yeah, how long this would take without the paper. You know, it's not even so much how long it would take. It's just your precision would be so difficult. With the paper piecing, you can get such exact precision that it's just kind of crazy town. And that's why, I mean, it's kind of magical, really. All right, we got that piece done. There we go. Okay, let's, there we go. So well, no, that's not how it goes. See, I'm gonna get these all confused. All right, here we go. So that is what that will look like. And look, now we can start getting that sense of, I wanted this like light. Here we go. Oh, yours came out to 6.5. There you go. You got your 6.5 inch because of the perfect paper piecing. That's awesome. All right, so see, now we have this like light to dark. That's kind of what I was wanting. And then we'll have that X with this green. Oh, this green will be crazy in the middle here. So there we go. In the directions it has put a center strip in here. So I would sew the center strip to there, and I think like this. So then this would actually be a block. And then we'll put 4 of these together, just rotated. So here you can kind of see. So 4, yep, so that this is like one of the squares. So we'll make 4 of these and put them together. But I'm just laying them out like this because I wanted to see the effect of this light to dark. But no, we won't be sewing these together. We're gonna sew those little blocks together like that, and then it'll have that strip in the middle there too. But all right, guys, we have the start of block 15 on its way. I mean, we're almost a quarter done with it, so that's good. I think it'll speed up a little in the next few nights too. So yay, our first paper piecing block. I know it was probably scary for some people, but it really is fun. Yeah, and Tracy, no problem. And I will, I'll be here again tomorrow, and we will we'll do more of this. Or Tracy Renee, sorry. We'll do more of this tomorrow, so you can start giving it a try, and if you need help or forget a step, again, it'll be at catch.me/penguinandfish. This video will, and no problem. And I'll be here again the next few nights. Well, I'll be here through this whole process to get this done. So I will be around. Hey there, guys, again. Thank you so much for coming in. Now here, I like holding it up because look, I mean, this would be a cute necklace too. This is how small these pieces are. Like, they're teeny tiny little deals here, but I think it's just gonna be fun. It's just gonna be cute, and look at that. Ah, I'm so excited. It's gonna be like this little arrow. So yeah, we got 2 of these. We need 6 more, and then plus these the little center thing. So there are more steps. So thanks again, guys. I will be here again tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Central. And thanks for staying a little late tonight. Usually we go like 45 minutes to 50 minutes, but we did like a little over an hour. But we got 2 blocks done, or two segments. So thanks again. See you tomorrow, guys. Have a great evening. You guys are the best, the best, the best.